number 7 in the World Championship between Nepomniachtchi and Liren. I'm here joined by another friend, Avner. Hello. And let me know if everything is working fine. I haven't been doing this thing in many years. We have already a position in front of us. We have Liren with the black pieces who started with the French defense. So without further ado, let's make sure that we understand what has been going on since the beginning of the game. So let's move to the analysis board. Avner, I wanted to ask, for the sake of the viewers, what is your level approximately when it comes to chess? Your rating, maybe?
I'm a patzer, one of the stronger, but still patzer. The highest level, I think, that can be called that. Stronger players are masters, and they don't deserve this title anymore. So I'm a candidate master around.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad, but after a lifetime in chess, many people get further. Anyway, around 2000 FIDE until last year.
Okay.
Candidate master, whatever the viewers are comfortable with.
Yeah. Most of my friends have said that they're around 1500 or 1400 or 1700, and chess.com shows them the statistics, and when someone surpasses like a certain rating, they say they're above 95% of the population. I think it's around 1500, but it could be also lower. So
100 is above 95%.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be in the 1 in a 20 or even better. So we have Nepomniachtchi with the white pieces playing e4, his favorite first move in this match. e6, he used it to win 2 rounds ago on game number 5. Back then, and also in round number 1, Liren played the Rui Lopez with black, aiming for the Marshall. We'll talk about it maybe later. And now e6, the French defense, d4, d5. I don't recall when was the last time the French defense was shown in a World Championship match, but I have a feeling it has been a long time. Most players have played e5 against e4 or the Sicilian.
We didn't have a Sicilian yet in this match, right?
Because Ding didn't play e4.
Yeah.
That might be one of the main reasons. And Ding is a d4 player mostly. So e4, e6, d4, d5. The French is considered to be not so practical as an opening in the World Championship format, because it allows white a wide variety of different lines that are all very strategically complex and unbalanced. And in today's era, with the computer preparations, it usually favors white in terms of the chances for a win and safety connected with the development of the middle game. So here, after d5, the main move is knight c3. But nowadays, after knight c3, black players like to play knight f6, and it's not very easy to break it. After the main moves start this way, black has probably more than 5 different setups, and all of them are very complicated and probably very solid and close to equality. So the main line traditionally is a6 followed by b5. So I have a feeling that Jan wanted nothing to do with it. Knight d2 was played, and now Liren played c5, which is the most straightforward move. Now white can either take or play knight f3, and black has 2 options versus both, I have to mention. If white takes...
Maybe we should go back a minute and say something about the difference. Why Taras invented knight d2?
Knight d2 is mainly aimed against these 2 moves, which are the main moves after knight c3. So here bishop b4 pins the knight, and knight f6, as mentioned, puts pressure on the center, and after e5, this knight is a little bit misplaced. So in both cases, after knight d2, black cannot really do these 2 moves conveniently. So if bishop b4, there is a very strong solution just playing c3, which is a useful move with the tempo on the bishop, and this is really bad for black. I've seen a lot of beginners falling for this without noticing the difference. And knight f6, e5, knight d7, the knight is better placed on d2 because white can reinforce the center with this pawn chain and actually play a move like f4 and then develop this knight here and the other knight to e2 and just have a very good game with a lot of space. And also there are other main lines here connected with threatening to play f4 but not playing it I forgot if it's c takes d4 first or bishop e7, but actually not playing it when black develops their pieces, and then just putting the knight on f3, which is also good for white. It's considered to be slightly better for white by modern evaluations, let's say. So knight d2 is aimed against these two moves, in short.
And then Tarash invented the move knight d2 and he abandoned it because he found that c5 will he'll be stranded with after c5 he will there will be a pawn on d5.
It's hard for white to take over the center, and the best white can do is give up the center and hope to gain a few tempi against black's queen, or to force black somehow. I'm not sure about the best move orders nowadays. Let's just make a random move order. Let's say something like this. Force black to have an isolated queenside pawn, which is considered to be nice and pleasant for white, but also, according to modern play, computers think black is fine in the main lines here. So e takes d5 is the main move, but after queen d5 and the main move knight f3, sacrificing the pawn in order to get a few tempi on the black queen, reaches something like this main line, more or less, and then we get a position like this, and it's considered to be very close to equality. Like black just plays bishop e7, castles, later on retreats the queen, and some a6, b5, and it barely has any weaknesses, and all of the pieces are fine. So white tried many creative things in these lines, different move orders, but it's considered to be very close to equality. So because of queen takes d5 and how solid it has been, white players tried for a different approach, knight gf3, which was played in the game. And now, after knight gf3, we have the move. The point is that if you play, c takes d4, like with the queen here, I don't take on d5, but play knight takes d4. And technically, I gain time because black gave up a move. Like this pawn moved twice, while that pawn on d4 moved only once. So the second move that was used to recapture actually improved the knight. So in a way, white gained time to develop a piece to a central square. Now the main move is knight c6, and then they usually play bishop b5, bishop d7, knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop back to d3. And then the bishop on d7 is not so active, and this is the main try nowadays in this position. Now, besides c takes d4, part of white's idea is that after knight f6, he doesn't want to play e5 because here, I don't know if people remember, but we developed the knight to e2 earlier. After bishop d3, we had knight e2, and we kept the idea of f4 and knight f3 for white. With the knight here, suddenly this knight has no good square. And it's not so easy to keep everything together in the center. So e5 is not the main idea. The point is to play e takes d5. And now there's a big difference because after queen d5, you didn't have time to take on d4, and I can simply go bishop c4. And you don't have a very good square for the queen, because if you go queen d6 like earlier in the previous line, I just gain another tempo on your queen, and I just have slightly better position because I developed more pieces, 4 versus 2, and white is slightly better probably. So this is the main difference of knight f3. It's a subtle move order change. The point is to essentially force black to go up for c takes d4. And now if knight c6, by the way, which is another main line, white wants to take. And now again, queen takes d5 is not so good. Black usually plays with the pawn, and by the transposition, we got into the above-mentioned isolated pawn positions where white is probably trying for some advantage, at least on a static level. Like strategically speaking, this is a long-term weakness. We'll talk about it probably later on. So, knight gf3 was played. The main move c takes d4, knight takes d4, and besides knight c6, which is considered the main line, there's also the move knight f6, which is relatively less popular. And now e takes d5.
Isn't advancing here a good idea?
Let's check. Knight f. Just by elimination, by knowing that this is the move that everyone plays, I can conclude that this is not correct. But I haven't studied it with neither color. So e5, I assume it's not an advantage for white. But let's try to understand why. I go knight d7. It's probably f4, and now the point is knight c6, and probably the fact that you have to take on d4 with the knight didn't work in your favor. There's a principle. And actually, maybe I can even take here. That might be even more promising. F5 and queen h4. I sacrifice the knight for a pawn, then I get a free knight with this fork. So this might be a good point.
We'll have a chance to talk more basic terms every hour or so.
Yes.
For viewers who maybe, for example, a 6-year-old who has just learned to castle these past few weeks, or his father who showed great promise when he started, but didn't enter the tournament circle. And
Yes.
the benefit of such viewers to talk in more basic terms.
Yes.
So so you found an interesting tactical idea, and that makes f4 proves that f4 is wrong.
Yes. Let's continue to see what happened in the game. After e takes d5, knight takes d5 was played. Traditionally, I've seen like 10 to 15 years ago, some top players playing this position, or at least against this position. And queen takes d5 looks very natural, but white has a nice idea of moving the knight to b5 with a tempo on the c7 square. And then if black plays a move to defend it, for example, knight a6, later on I can move to c3 with another tempo on the queen. I'm not sure what's the main line here. I already forgot, but we can have a quick look. So yeah, knight a6, and then knight c3 straight away. So I don't go bishop c4 because I will go knight c3 later on anyways. So I'm keeping the bishop flexible so I can decide later which square I want to go to. Black normally plays queen back to d8. And then this knight is misplaced, so in order not to allow it to get back to the center, white plays the move a3. And this has been the main line here, traditionally speaking, and white is considered to be doing slightly better or more pleasant practically. I'm not sure what the computer evaluations here are nowadays. So queen takes d5 has been the main move in the past, but probably white is doing fine and has also a lot of options that are pleasant. So knight takes d5 is the main way to recapture, because you don't have to waste too much time with the knight. And unlike the tempo with knight c3 that we saw earlier, the tempo with c4 is not going to be so useful because it doesn't move a piece, actually it moves a pawn, and it leaves this knight a little bit vulnerable, so you have to waste time now. So back to the game, knight takes d5. White played knight 4 to f3. This is not a very natural move in my eyes. and it also wasn't played. I completely confused myself. He played knight 2 to f3. So
That makes
that
more
makes,
sense
yeah,
because now the bishops are both open.
yes, and the knight is closer to the center. When I was a beginner, they said that this is where you want to put the pawns, and this square is where you want to put the light pieces, meaning the knights and the bishops. So this is called the small center, and this is called the large center. This is the large center, and I like the idea of placing the knights here because they have a lot of reach and they control a lot of squares. So knight to f3. Now black played knight c6, if I'm not wrong.
So
No, first bishop e7.
if I'm not mistaken, White will do everything in his power to prevent e5 and the white square bishop becoming stronger, because French players usually suffer from the weakness of the first move, the weakness of the bishop created by the first move that blocks it. And if black can somehow get e5 in without consequences, then you will probably be doing just fine.
Yes. So in this position, after knight to f3, black played a very solid move, bishop e7. I see here that statistically more people play bishop before check. Probably there is a tactical point that after c3 I can take here. And that might be good for black, and it forces bishop d2. But we won't delve into it because bishop e7 was played. And now white played bishop c4, which looks very natural. As I mentioned earlier, this square is where we want the pieces. So either we put the bishop on d3 or c4. And it seems to be imposing some pressure on the knight on d5. And after bishop c4, knight c6 was played. Which just goes to show that black accepts the fact that they have problems to solve. Knight c6 threatens to exchange the knights, but it allows a very unpleasant move, which was played knight takes c6, and now black is stuck with this pawn, which can become a long-term weakness. So I haven't seen this line before, so let's check if bishop c4 is actually a move that was played. No, it's a very rare move. The main move has been c3, then bishop d3 was played. Some people played g3. Bishop c4, out of like 63 games, has been played only 9 times. And yeah, it says last time was in 2020 or something.
Why do white players prefer the bishop on d3?
I'm sure that Jan Nepomniachtchi just knows this position, by the way, and he prepared with the computer, and he was just recommended to play this move when he checked it deeply.
But in general, what does
Because they played it very fast in the opening.
but the nature of both positions, the one diagonal full of black pieces, one diagonal open for the bishop without obstruction for the time being.
Yes. By the way, we have one viewer currently, and they're not active in the chat, so we don't know who they are. So, yeah. Apparently, the issue I had with Lichess streaming hasn't been solved yet. I have to look into it and see what I can do, because it's we are taking a heavy toll for not being shown on the main page of Lichess. So now after bishop c4, knight c6 can be anticipated as it was played, takes, and then black solved a few problems and created himself a new one. White probably castled, yes, black castled, and then queen to e2. And the main point of this idea for black is that now the bishop is not so closed as it was, and black has an open file, and later on probably the bishop will be on b7, the pawn will go to c5, and black can claim that they have some control over the center, and that the c5 pawn is arguably not such a bad weakness because it's in the center and well protected.
Not on an open file.
Yes.
Rook.
Yes, and Ding has been thinking for the past 6 minutes. It's black to move. And while he's thinking, maybe we can try to talk about the game in a more abstract way. So we don't understand what's going on objectively, but everyone would agree that if they had to pick a color here, they would probably choose white because of this one weakness. And white doesn't have any weaknesses and can just develop their pieces quite smoothly later on.
So abstractly, you don't mean the current position because there's also the the fact that white is captured. If we count useful moves made by pieces,
Hmm.
then we have the queen of the back rank, which is always
Yeah,
useful.
three pieces are developed
Back rank
versus
is many times it's useful to clear the back rank for the rooks because the rooks feel most comfortable on the back rank.
when they are connected as well.
So
So
for me, the connection means less, but the flexibility of using the rooks
yeah,
on whatever column that will end up opening is more important.
yes,
But the bottom line is the same. The rooks are most comfortable when the back rank is clear. And white has made more steps in that direction. He has moved his queen, he's castled, black is castled too. And
yes,
black doesn't have a comfortable square for the white squared bishop yet.
yes. And in this position, after queen e2, we have
Even on
black
b7, yes.
thinking. Uh, I'm trying to understand, like, besides the fact that everyone would probably like white here, what else can we say about the position? Like, what's so what is white going for? Like, of course, it like let's continue explaining the basics for the sake of those who want to understand the game a bit deeper, who just started. So obviously, white is going after black's king, but they can't go in a direct fashion with great success in this position. There's no justification for it, um, and we can talk about this in more depth later. But the main idea for white to utilize their advantage is to bring as many pieces as they can to the most central square that they can, control the center, and then little by little grab space with the pawns, start pushing, improve their pieces, and try to put pressure on every single weakness that black has created. And maybe it's worth mentioning that in chess, when black doesn't make any mistakes, white will probably not be able to win. Not many people know it. People think sometimes that if you play well, then you win. But you have to have your opponent making mistakes in order to win the game. And for that to happen, we need to actually pose problems. So that's why I mentioned earlier that e6 is not a popular move, because after e5, when the position is symmetrical, it's much more difficult to pose problems when the position is balanced. It's hard to claim anything. But even if the position is equal, let's say objectively in these lines, even if the computer will say it's equal here, us humans see that the pawn is here, and this is a factor that will exist for the long run. And in the short term, maybe black has some specific moves that they can do to justify it or to compensate for it, but they still have to find and make them. And white is not running any risk. So, in short, we want all the pieces to come to the center. We want to grab space, take over the center with the pawns, and wait for black to place their pieces in a way that will allow us to keep progressing. And the more pieces we have in the center, the more threats we can create. And usually people try to collect small advantages like a pawn or maybe pieces that are slightly more active or a slightly safer king.
In French, it's typical to play against a bad
Bad
white
pieces.
squared bishop. Yes,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
this position, it's not such a factor because the bishop is not so limited. After the capture.
Yes.
No, I'm not doing the arrows right.
Without. Yeah.
Okay.
Bishop where?
The bishop has b7 open after the capture b7 takes c6.
Yeah.
And that will probably lead black to choose the long diagonal
Yeah.
for the bishop. The bishop will probably be very good along the diagonal. So with shift, I haven't.
Out. With shift you can.
I want an arrow. Yes, okay.
Without
So
you do the arrows, with shift you can add colors or
okay.
control also.
So this is probably the direction that black will take with solving the problem of positioning that bishop.
Yes.
Meanwhile, white has a black square bishop that doesn't have a very good square.
Yes. So after
What about white's black square bishop? What do you think?
white dark squared bishop, it's very open. Ideally it would want to stand on f4 and e3, but then it can be captured by the knight, and it's not so nice to exchange the bishop for the knight, or to lose it altogether.
Good point.
Yeah.
What about positioning the bishop on the long diagonal?
Let me. You mean?
Sorry.
It's fine. Here, like this. Position the bishop here. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously a very good idea for the structure, but white wants to keep as many pieces on the board as possible. Let's just make an example. Let's say black continues with their plan, then you play b3. Suddenly bishop f6 can hit, and that's not very convenient for white. White needs to move the rook in order not to lose it,
Or knight e5.
and then knight c3 can come, and with the fork. So
Yeah.
therefore, white is forced to play something like knight e5. And there comes the question, what happens after a move like knight c3, for example? You have to play queen somewhere. Let's say e3, then queen d4.
No, I thought e1.
Queen e1?
But it doesn't make any difference. The queen d4 is not what white was hoping for when he. You
Yeah.
know what? But right now, I think knight f3 and bishop e2.
Yeah, the problem is that I can probably give a check.
Uh,
And then,
and then even with the possible movements of the bishop, everyone
yeah,
opens a threat on the queen. There's nothing
there's no way.
substantial to be gained.
Yes, exactly. So black will win material in this line. Okay, I suggest that we go outside of our comfort zone, and instead of trying to explain to beginners the basic principles of chess, we will treat ourselves like beginners and try to understand chess
Mm-hmm.
as a whole. Like in this position, I like to usually relate to one player and look at the game from their side and try to come up with ideas and plans and maybe predict some moves. So I would choose white here. Seems more fun. Um, and with black, it takes some knowledge to find the correct place for all the pieces. But with white, even without knowledge, we can still claim a slight plus. So how about we make random moves for both sides and then try to evaluate the position. So now it's black to move. c5 makes a lot of sense. The idea is to play bishop b7, but there's no point to play bishop b7 straight away because it's effectively committing itself to the move c5, so it's less flexible. Like if we don't play c5 and leave the bishop here, then it would not make any sense at all with the pawn blocking the bishop. So c5 is more flexible because then we can theoretically play other moves if needed. So c5 is good. Then, most likely,
But if we're certain that the goes to the b5 move, maybe start with that.
Sure.
See white's move,
So rook,
and then play c5.
yeah, makes sense. Rook b8. Again, the same idea, more flexible, because you annoy white in the.
But then again, the rook maybe, as Sutowski wrote once, the rook will be very disappointed to get b7 bishop in its face.
Well, it might be, but for the time being, uh, white cannot develop their bishop because of the pawn, and you can't even defend it with rook b1 because of the fork and the pin.
So maybe we'll keep the rook on b8 and.
The question is, how does white manage to develop their bishop from c1 after rook b8 has been played? And the most obvious answer is probably to just retreat with this bishop.
So my feeling is that black always wants to know what is the final square of the white squared bishop, and then aim at exchanging either a knight or the bishop for it. And this is a small to tiny game for black, achieving this knowledge.
So
And one other thing, just a minute. The bishop has left the diagonal, the e and the a2, the a6, f1 diagonal. So
you create an arrow by just
dragging.
Exactly. Yes.
So now black may aim at a6 at supporting the move bishop to a6.
Yes. So here, after bishop b3, as I suggested, black can bring the queen, for example, to protect the bishop. However, this was all long forgotten history, as bishop b7 was played in the game. Unlike what we've said, probably Ding has other ideas. It's hard for me to explain the difference, but there probably is a reason why he didn't like to start with c5. And maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just a transposition. I'm trying to think, but I don't see any difference that is evident. Maybe if we play c5, white can play a4 with the idea of a5, a6, or just a5, which is useful enough as it is. Let's say just to go a5 and control some squares. And if black, so for example, if we play bishop b7, a5, and black tries to stop a6 by playing a6, this pawn can become a weakness later on. This pawn is very good for grabbing space and controlling key squares. So a4 could be an idea, and then the most natural response for black would be to grab space as well with a5. And one can argue that in this structure, maybe you don't want to play c5. So you would probably prefer to have your pawn still on c6 to control these squares. So maybe, in a sense, this is the point behind black's flexibility. That's all I can come up with. And white has full control of the d5 square, which could be pleasant for him. And also rook a3 could come later on.
What about the control before?
Here? I can always...
like consequence is that the white pawns will not be moving anytime soon.
So the b4 square is not fully in black's control because white can always harass a piece that will stand there. But when white puts a bishop on b5, it's really hard to kick it away. And
no, I'm thinking long term. If white wants to utilize this three pawns against two, the insight.
That's a
Disadvantage.
The pawn majority here is much more common when this pawn is on b7. When you move this pawn from c4 all the way to c5 and b4, and you grab space and so on. Here with the pawn c5 and the bishop behind it and the knight controlling the square, it's going to be really hard to uh, make to create a passed pawn, and this is already a very long-term plan. As long as the queens are on the board, this is not so relevant for now. And with black to move, they played bishop b7, and probably their idea is that after a move like a4, they will just go a5, and now everything is under control, and later on they can go queen b6, bishop a6, and exchange the problematic bishop for a good piece. Which just goes to show the usefulness of having moved the b pawn from the way of the bishop. Like this square of e6 and b7 are quite meaningful for its future. So a4, a5. Now, there are two advantages for black for not having played c5. The first one is controlling b5. The second one is that this bishop is still open, so you don't let rook a3 to come to the game so easily.
And the bishop itself might find c5 comfortable.
Yes. And so if c5, my guess is after a4, a5, and future rook a3, we can also leave the bishop on c1. So being able to develop the rook to the center or towards the black king without having ever moved this bishop is a big luxury. It can save a tempo or even two, because in many cases, let's say here, bishop d2 for example, or let's say a4, a5 in the same fashion, and then bishop d2. In many cases, I'm not sure which move to make, the rook goes to the center, and then later on the bishop goes back to c1 in order to open for the rook, because the bishop has no real target to attack. So with the c5 variation, with that in mind, if I get to play rook d1 or something like this, and then bring the other rook and double the rooks, I saved almost 2 tempi for not having moved the bishop back and forth.
But after b7, there's also f4 for the bishop, and that may be useful. The bishop may find
when
bishop b7 now. Oh no, bishop
b4. Bishop f4 I can take it, and I don't care that my queen is attacked because
black will capture with check.
Yes. Check.
And with check, and the exchange of all the pieces, black will have a definite winning advantage.
Yes, winning material advantage. And now, bishop b7 was played, and while he's thinking, which goes to show that probably he was surprised, my guess is, by this knight c6 move. I don't think it's something that you see every day. It's practically a novelty in this position. Everyone beforehand played castles, and then knight back to f6, which is passive. So knight c6 was definitely a surprise for Jan. And I won't be surprised if Ding didn't prepare for this opening too much, and he just likes this concept or saw it very briefly, because Ding is known for not preparing very deeply and just having a massive understanding of the game. And maybe with this move and the position that followed, Ding just feels that he can defend properly. Ding was asked about several games, about his choices on move 6, 7 with white, for example, on the previous round 2 days ago when he won. And so I'll give an example. It was the London system. It was probably the first time the London system was seen in a World Championship match. I'm not sure if someone played it before, but definitely not in the last 40, 50 years. So after bishop f4, I just want to show that they had played one of the very main lines, c takes d4, e d4, bishop f5. And nowadays, people play either bishop b5 or c3, queen b3, which are known to be practically equal if black is precise. And Ding played c3, which is one of the main moves. And here after e6, it just shows a move that looks quite toothless, I would say. He simply developed his bishop. One may argue that this looks like the actions of a beginner, just putting the pieces outside and hoping to get to the middle game. And then they asked him about his choice of bishop b5, and his response in the press conference, after having won this game with a beautiful finish, he just said that he didn't really prepare anything. He just wanted to get some game. And a lot of top players played the London system with white and prepared many lines, especially forcing computer lines until move 20 and so. And it's shocking to see a player in the top 10, or even in the top 200 players in the world, to see them playing on move 8, such a natural developing move, without having prepared it in advance. And especially to a world championship match.
Maybe even though he didn't prepare it, he knew it was fashionable and
It's
probably
not.
with a lot of computer. No?
It's not. So, arguably, this is like when we talk about fashion in chess, we have to be careful because there are like closed circles, let's say, among the top players, and they have their knowledge that is not available to the masses. And what's fashionable between them is not currently fashionable among the rest of the world. However, so what I'm trying to say is that a few wise men know that these moves with queen b3, for example, allows this pawn sacrifice, which is good for black, and that this bishop b5 line, after some forcing moves that are very specific, are good for black. I mean, at least close to equality and holding. So in order to go for an equal position, engine-wise, that has a game with pieces on it and some strategic complex, is a compromise that can only be fashionable among the very few at the top. Like people, let's say, even at my level, which is relatively high, let's call it average grandmaster level, it's considered to be a boring way to play with not a lot of winning chances. Then black can also get winning chances if the position is equal. So now that Ding has played it, it can become fashionable to the rest of the world because they saw it and they saw the move working. But one may argue that this is brilliant because Ding, in round number 2, chose to play. This is not the right opening. Like this. Ding played this with the white pieces, and he chose to play the move h3. And then Ding went on to lose that game later on, after he played quite horribly. And for example, on social media, I've seen some grandmasters heavily criticizing h3 and calling it an awful move. And while I don't agree with them,
Awful.
yeah, people like to spread their frustration. I mean, I'm not even talking about grandmasters who are 2500 plus. Some of them are way below 2500, and some of them are international masters. And I've seen people arguing that this move is terrible. And it's a very common phenomenon that you see an outcome, and then you go in retrospect and draw conclusions then that don't necessarily have anything to do with science or reality. And yeah, and in this context, we can also argue that if Ding had lost after having bishop b5, the same voices would say, "Oh, Ding doesn't prepare for the opening. He must grow up and play like a professional chess with modern preparation." But then when Ding does such a toothless-looking move and ends up winning quite effortlessly, then suddenly everyone are silent. I didn't see those people praising the move bishop b5, let's say. So my point is that chess is well known to be a draw, let's say, if both players are playing very close to perfect and have their preparations. And therefore,
I use the term scientific mathematical point of view.
yes,
So from that point of view,
yeah,
the game is from game theory considerations, the game is probably a draw.
yes. So after bishop b5 with black to move, this is probably a draw or very close to equality. And one may argue that this is easier equality, this is a boring equality. h3 in that position that I have shown is, let's say, a very specific kind of equality. But we can't forget that and be humbled by the fact that everything is equal if black plays correctly, and no one can ever claim that there is one specific path that matches everyone in their pursuit of provoking weaknesses from the opponent. And another main point is that I would argue that h3 provides more winning chances than even the move, let's say h4, which looks terrible, can theoretically provide more winning chances than going for knight c3, c5, cd5, cd4, which is considered to be a forcing line that reaches an endgame that has been thoroughly analyzed with almost no wins for white. And while it's quite passive and annoying to play with black, let me show the endgame. So here, e4, knight c6, bishop, not knight c6, I think. Maybe d4 immediately. Yeah, knight c6, bishop b5, d4. It's all forced. Queen d8, king d8, knight g5, bishop e6. And then, let's say, for example, castles, bishop b4, knight takes c4. So this endgame has been thoroughly analyzed, and black players know how to make a draw quite easily. And I think some top players play knight takes e6, f e6, and then either bishop takes e6 or bishop g5. But objectively speaking, this endgame is considered defendable quite easily in their level. So I would probably hesitate to play it with black, especially against a low-rated opponent when I have almost no winning chances. But nowadays this has gone very fashionable, and in a World Championship match, that's most likely what Jan has prepared. And that's most likely what Ding has been trying to avoid all this time with this h3 move, and we're starting with c4 in game number 4. And my point is that if you get your opponent to play an equal position on their own, it's always more preferable than getting them to play their home preparations at the top level. Arguably, you can provoke more mistakes by them if they have to decide, to make any decisions. However, the flaw with such an approach is that you're also prone to make mistakes when you're not prepared. So it's just a more, let's say, high risk, high reward kind of game when you get into new territory. However, we as viewers are the main beneficiaries of such an approach. And I'm very glad that both players are trying very hard to provoke an unbalanced position, even with the black pieces. Like seeing the French today on the first move makes me feel glad. And the same with the London in the previous game. And it just goes to show how rich chess is as a game, because there is no real way to prevent yourself from losing, even if you're the best player in the world and the position is very boring and equal.
Okay.
That's my point.
Going in a different path.
Yeah.
There's no way to secure an advantage, and
There's no way.
Every path is
There is no limit to stupidity. That's what I'm saying. Even for the most brilliant people with the best skills and the best kind of position, traditionally speaking, with the black pieces. So, yeah.
What do you think? Since the thought is so long,
Yes.
maybe you want to look into the Lichess settings.
maybe.
Spend a few minutes there.
I think they have more moves, but after
One more.
two, like one each. So bishop b7 is where we last stopped, and our viewers probably saw it before us. They played the move bishop back to d3. The bishop is not so useful on c4 anymore. I mean, the purpose of this bishop was to put pressure on the knight and provoke this knight c6 move. And after this has happened, the bishop is no longer useful here because it attacks a wall that has a wall behind it. So basically, it makes a lot of sense after bishop b7 to play the move Jan played, bishop d3, and just retreat the bishop and aim for an attack along this diagonal. And black can also create a wall here with the pawns, but in this case, it will provoke a lot of weaknesses on the dark squares because the pawns only control light squares, and it might weaken the king a little bit. So bishop d3 makes a lot of sense, and black just developed the queen to c7,
But what about
connecting the rooks. What?
isn't
Yes?
I thought C3 in preparation would be
Preparation
would be
for what?
useful because now black can harass the
You mean this
the
move?
bishop e4, bishop a6.
And c4 is probably a good move. And then a3 will follow.
Okay, so another attempt at shooting. So no,
Knight b4, sorry.
knight before bishop e4.
Yes.
How do you? Okay, so is f5 now too much of a concession?
Probably, yeah, because now, even though you got to exchange my bishop, these pawns are extremely weak. And probably after knight d3,
d3 will be
I can just take it.
no, okay, then that's. But there's also pawn on d3. Oh no, yeah, rook f7. Okay, take rook f7.
Knight e5 is a big threat. I'm a pawn up for the time being. It's not so easy, that's all I'm saying. And yeah. This knight on d5 is also quite strong, so I'm not sure if we want to like move it so much. Another move that could
Yeah, f5 was too wild.
probably.
I gathered that, but still this. And if not f5, nothing is attacking the bishop.
And then I go a3 next, followed by c4.
Yeah, this was premature.
Yeah, queen c7, just very simple. With the same idea, but from a different angle, you know? This is much more forcing.
So what does it force? G3?
I mean, the idea of playing knight f4, let's say the move knight f4 is threatening these two pieces, and if you take, I just take and I get the pair of bishops, which is nice.
So maybe knight b f4 with
g3 weakens this diagonal.
Yes, of course. But what else? And queen e4. What will white play to prevent the exchanges? Queen.
I'm not sure if white needs to prevent it, but you can also go knight e5 followed by rook e1. That's one option. f6, yeah, probably queen h5. Yeah, this is getting into danger zone. So queen c7 can be anticipated, been played already, and now with white should probably solve the problem of this threat. This is a positional threat, and they played queen e4, so that's the other option I wanted to mention, with bishop and queen threatening mate in 1. It's not very common that we have a mate in 1 threatened in a world championship game. Wouldn't it be funny if black mouse slipped?
But aren't they playing with wooden piece? Aren't they pushing real wood?
No, but imagine like there are, let's say he's about to play the move g6 or knight to f6, but his sleeve touches the a pawn
Yeah, or
and
his pawn lands on g5.
here instead of g6. Yeah, I mean this would make headlines.
It has in the past, and strong players have missed mate in one, and it was viral. It's still viral on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is among the chess circles. I think if his sleeve would touch the a pawn, it would be viral also among the rest of the world, probably.
I find it hard to imagine. So now, what are we looking at? G6 or knight f6? I think these are the two logical moves to prevent mate.
Yeah, we can probably assume that knight f6 will be played because it's tempo and it's not weakening. And then,
What about the queen, the access to h4, h3, and then according to Black's replies, maybe access to h5,
okay,
h3. Isn't this something that Black would like to avoid?
so c5 with the idea of bishop takes f3.
Okay, but does that scare white?
I mean, it's
Does
just a good move. It's not aimed to scare you.
um, so there's either bishop g5 or knight g5.
Okay, knight g5, I just go h6. I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
That's right.
And if bishop g5 with the threat of mate in 2, I still go h6. And the only move that makes sense for you now is to
The
sacrifice
sacrifice is probably premature. No, there's still bishop f4. Bishop f4 is still the move, and
here. But
yes.
then,
Oh, but then queen c6 and knight
then,
e5
then,
are
the,
useful.
then it's not clear why you played bishop g5. I mean, bishop f4 might be a good move, but it's probably better without provoking h6, which is useful for black. So bishop g5, h6. If you sacrifice, probably I can just take it and exchange this knight, and you have a draw. I'll give you that. I mean, most likely. But you don't have time to actually force the draw. Queen g5, I have go king h8, and I have rook g8 coming, or bishop.
No,
But you go here.
white wants the rook first, the g5 open first, and black helped him very
Wait, so
very
you,
well this capture.
yeah, gf. Of course, your idea is king h1,
Mm-hmm.
rook g1.
Wow, you guessed that fast. Why? So maybe show the viewers king h1
Maybe
to
first I'll show
the g5.
myself how to defend.
That's also useful. That's always useful.
Yeah, I don't see a good move. So maybe bishop f3 was premature,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to find some tactic.
No, play simple. E4. Block E4. Queen takes.
Bishop e4, but then you have a
Why
check.
not knight? Why not knight to clear the black squares for the bishop?
Yeah, it makes sense. Let's say rook a1.
Or as other sources have it.
94 doesn't strike me as very logical.
Uh-huh. Um, no way to defend the queen. Okay, right.
No, but here, so
Bishop e4 is better, and no nasty checks.
the best move is probably just c4.
No, c4 right here.
Yeah.
I see, because I was starting to think about the drawbacks with bishop e4, queen g5 check, and I think that's
I
that's
said it
logical.
already, yeah. After queen g5, it's good.
Okay, I didn't understand it. You're
Yeah,
talking
queen
about that
h4.
position.
Yeah, so now it's not so clear what white can do. Besides a move repetition with the queen.
This probably forces the repetition, the continually checking the black king and then a draw.
Yes, that's queen g5, queen j, queen h6, queen j. If white wants to continue, they can go queen h4 check and try to take the pawn, but I can't guarantee success with this strategy because if you take this pawn after rook h8, even though you get another check, suddenly you're the one under attack with all these threats. Okay, so
No.
it was an interesting analysis, but knight f6 was played and queen h4 was played. And now Ding is thinking with the black pieces. And I wanted to mention, by the way, that after the move c5, white doesn't have to go directly for the attack. They can also play more strategically. So, and a good example of a strategical move would be knight to d2.
I was starting to think along these lines because on c4 the knight has a very
Um,
wait, wait,
with which move?
okay.
C4.
I just wanted the square. No, I just wanted the square.
You mean the knight on c4 will stand well.
The knight has no pawns that will.
There are no pawns on the adjacent files that will
Has
kick it
nothing to
out.
discourage, yeah, white from hoping to position the knight on c4, and then
Let's
the
say rook
white can
d8,
decide what makes more sense.
knight c4, rook d4.
Yeah, okay, but
It's not so easy to
do
do.
you think rook d4 is
No, probably
rook
knight d2 is too
d4?
passive.
Rook d4.
I mean, I do want to move the knight, but where?
Maybe a bishop first. Maybe a bishop move first.
Not sure. Let's see. Bishop f4.
Bishop f4. Otherwise, the e5 the e5 idea by black will
But here I
will
just go with the queen somewhere,
of course.
and then I don't know. I'm threatening this theoretically. This pawn here. I don't know. It's hard to make it. Maybe bishop e5 now, probably.
I thought knight e5 and queen
Bishop
takes, trolling with knight d7.
knight e5. I go probably rook d8.
You're not picking up the
You go
pawn.
knight g4.
No, g4 or c4.
Which one is a deadlier threat?
Deadly. We're not into deadly territory yet, I think.
I mean, this one you attack my queen, and then it moves, and then okay, it's a very static position. But this one threatens mate.
Mate is a good thing to threaten. And g6 is out of the question
Yeah.
because it's required to defend the knight.
Yes. And h6 looks far more dangerous than before.
Knight takes g4, you just take back with the queen.
For example,
Bishop f6.
I
It's still a pawn ahead. Okay,
yeah,
no risk. I'm not sure this is not equal, but
probably it's not equal. It's very hard to equalize when you're pawn down and under attack.
I thought this pawn b2 was secure, but your move shakes my
Yeah.
strong conviction.
The point is that if you take my exchange, I'm essentially forcing you to give it back, and then I don't take it.
Exactly, bishop d6, yeah.
You almost ruined my punchline.
I'm
No,
sorry
no, it's
about
fine.
that.
It's fine. It's fine.
Nothing as disappointing as a partner for the broadcast tournament.
Nah, I didn't even know I had a punchline, to be honest. So Queen H4, C5 is what we can expect.
Mhm.
Let's try to come up with other.
What about the break? Deal with the Lichess settings.
Oh, I'm not sure I know how to fix it. That's my problem. Like, so I have the Lichess website. So, okay, let's try. What's the worst that can happen? So, say, uh, yeah, it's not so easy to. I'll check on the other websites. Let's see. Here we have a list of streamers for the World Championship. Uh, it shows two streamers, Arnold being one of them. Let's see what happens if I press this and this. I am connected on the Lichess website. So there are three conditions in order to have a stream be shown on the Lichess site. I mean, after you're an approved streamer, you have to put the words lichess.org in the title. You have to have the category chess in a YouTube stream, and I changed the category to chess, specifically Lichess gaming, something like this. You have to be connected with the account, and you should be fine. These three conditions are met, and the Lichess server checks every 30 or 60 seconds which of its streamers is live. Um, we have 5 viewers already, a new peak, and some people in the chat. We have Or Rimoch suggesting bishop takes h7 for knight f4. I guess it's some time ago. And yes, and Chayon replied earlier that regarding my mate in one here, when I said if Ding touches the aim pawn, he will get mated, or says it depends if they play Nagata Nasata.
Touch move.
Yes, there is a touch move rule in the World Chess Championship. So, yeah, they do play with this rule, and they are being on camera also shown for the entire game.
I think he was referring to your sleeve slip situation.
Yes.
That and the sleeve is not a proper touch.
Are you sure?
I don't know the exact FIDE ruling on on the issue of sleeves, but maybe I am trying to guess if that's the meaning of this comment.
Interesting. Because if your sleeve counts, then maybe if you blow on a piece, it could also count as if you touched it. So that opens the door for a lot of new ruling on the matter. You should breathe in, breathe out in a different direction, let's say, than the pieces.
The conference will probably be full of new full of new rulings about specific cases. of the touch move rule. Are you sure they check every so often? Because that means that there's still something that they don't like on these criteria.
Well, they don't. On the Lisa's website, it doesn't show that my YouTube channel is live. So maybe there is an issue. But it did work a few years ago, like 3 weeks ago, when I streamed round 1 and 2. For a few minutes only, but it did work. Maybe I need to search for my name on the streamers list, see if it's still there. I mean, I did see my streamer page working. I just don't want to open it here because it will interfere with the stream.
No, no reason.
Maybe I have to connect to the other account because this account that I'm connected to is the account that is directly connected to my channel. But let's see what happens once I try to log in to something else. Maybe the other account will help. It can't harm, that's for sure. So I'll remove the real game view for a moment, just so I can connect to the other one. Okay, I don't think it's very likely to work, but we can try. Not being streamed is not going to cause any difference. So now I'm bringing it back. So for the viewers, it looks all the same. Now I'm connected to a different user, and I have two users, and one of them is directly attached to my YouTube channel, and it's the one that didn't work. But this one has the same email, the same Google account as my YouTube channel, so maybe by some miracle it's connected. Maybe it's somehow integrated, which I highly doubt. But I can't remember what I did differently the other time that it worked. I mean, I'm almost sure it was connected to the account I logged off from.
So it may have been the wrong account.
What do you mean? It doesn't work. I don't think this is the right account. I'm just trying things out just to see if there is hope. Provide a lot of entertainment for our 6 viewers and interact with them. I don't see a big problem with that. You don't have to be greedy. Yeah, this is
My feeling is if we have a large audience at the tip of our fingers, it's a good idea to contact them.
Yes. So, Queen H4. It doesn't seem to yield any specific results. Let's get back to the previous account. Okay, so this is the one. Last times that I tried, I had this page on, which the viewers can't see, and then it worked. So let's try it.
Let's look at the. Do you want to look at the list of string rules? Because you said 3 things and they have 4.
Okay, let's read it. So include the keywords lichess.org is one thing. Okay, include the keywords lichess.org. That's one thing. Then, what else is there?
Category chess.
Remove the keyword when you stream non-lichess stuff, which I have.
So maybe you have to acknowledge that having seen the streaming shortly.
Maybe they updated it, you say?
I don't know. How if it's a condition, then the program wants to know somehow maybe.
Okay. Lichess will detect your stream automatically and enable the following perks. Film flaming streamer icon, get bumped to the top of the stream list, notify your Lichess followers. No, I'll show you. When you are pressing the word here, you can see whoever is live. You see? And I'm not one of them. See, my account is not shown here. And it was during round 1 and 2, and I didn't change anything, and it's still, you see, my stream is improved in general. I've been selected. Your Twitch name or URL. No. YouTube channel. Maybe I need to update this. No, but I already have.
But is this correct?
Visible on streamer's page when approved by moderators. Maybe it's the moderators' decision.
But
okay, I'll write them a message.
Do we have some way to make sure that this is your?
I mean, it has been the same. It doesn't change. I never changed it for.
No, but I mean, in YouTube listing, maybe YouTube listing did something that.
I don't know. Let's see. Check. Okay, so. Okay, so let's see. What else? I wonder what I did differently the other time. I think it's probably an issue that depends on the moderators. That's what I think.
Okay.
I can't imagine anything else. Okay. Let's see. Well, maybe it will be a little bit different if I actually make moves on the Lichess website. Let's show the real game also. Back to the game. Yeah, they're still having the same position, and Liren has been thinking for the past 18 minutes already. They have an hour and 7 minutes on the clock, and yeah, he has problems to solve. We predict the move c5, yeah, which was not played yet. Okay, let's try to keep working on solving this matter. So, anything else you want to suggest about the position?
Yeah, but C5.
Uh, by the way, you can also move a little bit to the left if you want. Yes. So
Okay.
C5.
C5, and now we're looking for.
Let's put the analysis board here for us. Yeah.
We're looking for a way to transfer the knight to G4.
So I'm trying to write to some people who might be relevant.
Mm-hmm. We're thinking.
Okay, there is an account that I can talk to laying out.
Don't know what the computer thinks. To me, this appears like quite an advantage.
Okay, so I'm getting back to the screen. So clearly it doesn't work at this point, but you can also try to mess with the settings. Bishop f4. c5 was played and bishop f4 by white.
That was the move I was thinking about because I have some refutations for black moves. For example, I think bishop d6 is bad because white can play bishop g5.
Yes, with the threat of removing the defender and taking on h7 with mate on the next move. Queen b6 is the move we suggested earlier.
If the queen moves, yeah, the
And
queen
then
was
bishop
most
d5.
comfortable on bishop on c7 with access to the seventh row and the defense of the bishop.
And then we like both of these moves. So
Yeah.
95 probably g6 is called for. But then bishop g5.
Yeah, and the knight, the d7 fork.
Yeah, both
among
moves
other
are
things.
very annoying for. This is probably less annoying. Yeah, 95 looks really nice. Looks really knight. What can we do?
99. But why not? Why were you so in favor of queen b6? It doesn't threaten anything.
I
At
don't know
least
what else.
queen c6
Probably.
maintains the knight on its square.
What else can we suggest?
But what about queen c6 to maintain the knight on f3?
Yes.
I mean,
That makes sense. Yeah, that's probably what's going to be played now.
But still, bishop e5 is a problem.
Not a big one because h6 is not running into any major sacrifices. So white has to make a good move here. Okay, so okay. Try to access the screen. Page. Well, we are down to 2 viewers. We lost our 7 friends. Okay, you see the page where I run the screen. Gaming, you just free online gaming is one.
So it wasn't so useful for the numbers of viewers attempting the Leech's connection. So I found here something.
Yeah, you can suggest moves.
I want a liberated knight after all. So now I'm thinking about queen g3 and queen h3. With a liberated knight, who knows what can happen?
Here. Maybe we can change the link. Oh, oops.
Queen h3, threatening knight e5 and knight g4. Ah, and it's not a long-term threat either. The knight e5 is with tempo on the queen. Maybe black will play queen d5.
This is ideal. No, let's change it. See what happens. Yeah, this makes sense. My YouTube channel ID.
Queen h3.
It works. Ah, the one viewer that I had earlier was me
Aha!
on this other stream.
Yes, that happened to me yesterday when I saw that.
Oh, we have 95. We have Queen D6 95 on the board. It's actually played. What actually happened to it?
Yeah, I looked at the link yesterday, I think, of this broadcast, and the link was already active, and there was one viewer waiting already for the um, broadcast to start.
Mhm.
And then I realized that must be me.
Yes.
So what? So we will. Do you think he will enter this uncomfortable line of g6 and king g7? That can't be right.
So my guess, my only guess is that
That the moderator intervened by hand.
yeah, because it didn't work and then it didn't, and nothing that I did was different.
It did work today.
No, round one and round two.
Okay.
So whenever I streamed, I changed the title midstream to lichess.org. Then suddenly my name was shown like immediately, and didn't do anything special.
Today it's not happening.
And it sends round three. I've been trying to make it work, and I sent messages to relevant people, and nothing seemed to help.
Mm-hmm.
But it does say the selected for front page featuring a stream is approved in general. And then they say, note that we can only show a limited number of streams. But when there are 10 streamers, they show 10 streamers. So I tried yesterday also to stream when no one was streaming, and it still didn't show me. So I don't know. It could be the work of a moderator. Yes. Anyway, in this position after 95, it is black to move, and I can console myself with the fact that I decided to stream this World Championship for my own sake. I don't remember if I shared this with you, but you probably read my post about it. My idea originally, until today's round, was to focus on my own improvement and my own chess and try to understand the moves. I didn't feel like I have to explain it to anyone farther. Like, just there are not many viewers as it is, so I might as well just make the best of the fact that I'm being watched. You see? So yeah. So
And they were hosting Tanya as well.
yeah,
What's
in the
the?
official stream, yes. I
I,
mean, she's there almost every time.
I saw Nishgiri. We were looking at the official stream, and Nishgiri and is commentating with Naroditsky, and I didn't see Tanya last time. Tanya is a woman commentator and probably quite a good player as well, right? Probably top 50 among women.
I don't know the rating exactly, and it also updates quite rapidly, with all the young players. But I think she was around 2400 rated.
So she can't be below top 100 of women, I think.
We don't know.
Maybe you want to speak about this for a bit.
Women chess?
Yeah, why are women deterred by chess? Why are there so few women?
Why are there so few women who play chess? Well, I'm not an expert on this topic, and I'm sure there are people who studied it with scientific data.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I heard about some research that some people did statistically and articles that have been written on the topic. But my opinion is not so relevant, because it will not change anything. So,
get the voice out there.
yeah, the only chance my opinion will get a voice out there from this stream is if I say something wrong, and suddenly, it becomes viral somehow for the wrong reasons. But it's a well-known fact that there haven't been a woman who won the World Chess Championship. There is no such thing, by the way, as a men World Chess Championship. There's just chess tournaments and chess tournaments exclusively for women, like nowadays.
Because there are so few women that they're worthy of their own category. I think that's the reason. That's the main reason. There's so few, so they don't. It's very hard to imagine, from a numeric point of view, that they will reach the dominant positions in the world championship circles. Though Judith, of course, made her mark over there, Judith Polgar. And I heard two comments that she had to say, which are not a solution to this problem, but still Judith's comments, so maybe they're worth repeating. And she said that one of the things that throws off women chess players who are equal to the boys until approaching adulthood around 13 or 14 is that women get to this stage a year or two earlier, in years where chess development is very important. And for her, she thought she was lucky to already be at grandmaster strength at 12 and not going through this period of mixed desires and emotions when having to work seriously on chess. And she was lucky in this aspect. She says, because she was already at grandmaster strength, at 12, and she didn't have to go through this stage of. I think what she implied is she was working towards reaching that level with the pressures of growing up in social circles and wanting to be out of the house and out of all the pressure and work that a serious chess competitor has to go through. She was already past this and a very strong player at 12 already. So that's as far as she goes. And another thing she said is that she felt that at her level, the men were more capable of the hard effort, the hard physical effort that is required concentrating for 5, 6, 7 hours every game.
Mhm.
That the male body has an advantage there. So for me, this is a very limited explanation because this is relevant for the, I think, very high level of maybe 2,600 and above.
What do you mean?
The condition of the male body, as opposed to the female body, to reacting to the stress of the long game. I don't think that has that is as important as ability in lower levels. I mean, and the knowledge that another 50 or 100 point adds to a player is so much more significant than the condition he was and his ability to concentrate or her ability to concentrate at a certain stage of a certain game. So the reason a female grandmaster would beat me is her superior knowledge, not the condition of her physique.
What does the physique change? I'm not sure I
So
understood.
what Judy said is that she feels that the strength of a man is relevant to the long chess games and the hard work of
What does the word
concentration.
strength mean?
That the physical condition, the ability to exert energy, the brain thought process is quite an energy drain. So I think the brain spends 20% of the all of the energy of the body. So it's a surprise to people who haven't made a concentrated effort of thought for a long time. But the leaving a chess game or an exam or a long stretch of programming makes everyone who's gone through that process very much aware of how straining it is on the whole body. And when bodily strain is concerned, Judith's comment was that men are better equipped for that kind of strain.
Okay.
Micah replied to that was that I think this is relevant only for the highest levels where the most minor differences come to play a part. And in lower levels, there's no reason to consider the physical superiority.
The fact that Judith may say that doesn't make it necessarily a scientific fact. Like,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what the facts are, but women individually, like when you look at them differently and you don't categorize them, and you look at a specific person's ability to concentrate for a prolonged period of time, I know of a few of them who have much better physical abilities and concentration than myself. And like, it doesn't, like, of course, you can compare everyone to Carlsen and then claim that Norwegians are the best, but from their physique point of view. But you can say that there is a much more broader truth than just one variable. Uh, like the brain and the concentration, like, and the ability to maybe being indifferent in some situations. You can also make claims about that, or about the fact that it, that historically speaking, men got more opportunities to improve, and now it's like I like the chicken and the egg argument. Like because it was like that, now it remains like that. You know, like nowadays when a lady plays chess and she shows some talent, uh, they don't have a lot of uh, places to go where they can get the best training and the best what's the word, standards. And the best example I have is like if you have a 12-year-old who has the same level as, let's say 12-year-old world chess champion under 12 is the same level as a 12-year-old world chess champion for men, for boys, then she competes with the girls, not with the boys. And it's very hard for her to do what Judith did, which is to compete only with men or with everyone, so to speak, uh, from the moment she's 12 until old age, because it's very tempting to collect all the prizes and all the glory from being mediocre by universal standards, but being considered a champion or uh, like in a certain category. And I've seen throughout my life a lot of talented girls fall into this trap, and they're not even aware of this thing ever happened, and their parents are not aware of it. And when talked about it, it's like uh, people will not think critically of their decisions; they will justify them. And it's already like known that the Polgar family, they were not allowed to play in women-only events, and that's probably one of the main factors that helped them maintain high standards.
It wasn't easy living in growing up in the 80s in Hungary, in a
Rookie 88,
totalitarian country, and
they follow.
being Jewish and being girls in the chess circles. All this combination didn't make life easier for the three girls and for their parents.
So Rook 88 was played.
So what does this imply anything for us?
It's the move we analyzed a long time ago. It prevents knight to d7, and my prediction is Ding's plan after knight g4. So my prediction is that after the move knight g4, Ding is planning to sacrifice the exchange.
For the b2 pawn. That's enough compensation. Right, because there's no real defense, right? The threat is h7. The threat is to take the f6.
Let's continue this line instead of moving
okay.
back.
Okay. But I thought it was okay.
Now let's continue. C takes d3 is probably the best move. And now my only guess is that Black wants to play something like knight d5 and take control of the bishop there. Bishop g5, f6.
So still enough compensation, and now I can.
I don't think it's enough.
Now I can defend the b2.
But now I have f5 on the next move. So you have to be careful.
Okay, so not bishop g5. So
Queen g3, for example.
the only move that is available, right? And then knight takes and queen takes, right?
This is also a move. I'm not sure if it's good. I'm just showing.
But that doesn't require white to.
Yeah,
You know what?
it loses.
More exchange.
Yeah. Okay, knight takes f4, queen takes f4. What's next? Let's say bishop d6, for example.
Oh, there's no queen takes b2. I didn't.
Yeah, I saw it.
I didn't notice. So queen takes b2, rook b1, and black loses.
Yes.
So there's not even a pawn for the exchange. Is
that so?
Blue compensation?
I don't know. I'm struggling to understand what's going on. So the queen has to move somewhere. Let's say now it looks pretty bad. What else? Let's
c4? Isn't rook c4
let's think of something else. I mean, knight g4. What else can black do?
So h6 falls for all the sacrifices,
I
right?
I don't know if all of them. I thought that bishop h6 was good, but also this line looks pretty winning to me. So h6 is out of the question. g6 is not a possibility. Knight e4 doesn't look very good. So it seems as if rook takes d3 is the only move, but like grabbing the bishop pair makes sense from black's point of view. Oh, I think I may have an idea. Let's see. No, I don't. I do not have an idea.
What was that? Tell the viewers.
I wanted to consider queen b4.
So what? So now every knight movement is defense, right?
Yes.
Knight e5, e3.
Yeah, if you just move the knight, I'd have knight d5, but the point is that you can take it and just go back. You don't have the slightest care in the world. So, in this position, black to move.
It's possible that
I'm almost sure he wants to take, but I don't know what's the follow-up.
What about
Knight d5 looks forced. This looks forced.
I thought of another.
I think now queen g3 is forced because otherwise you lose a piece. Because bishop g5, f6, and f5.
Yes,
and I don't see a defense.
We've convinced ourselves that this will lose a piece.
I mean, maybe there is a move that we are missing. That like is.
I also thought of another defense that I'll tell you later after we analyze this. After we're convinced we understand something about this one.
Have to take. Maybe Ding wants to have some compensation here with the bishop pair. Put the bishop on d4 somehow.
You want to go back and
Search?
since we explain from beginner's point of view.
But I don't understand the position myself. So what's the point of taking a break from not understanding it in order to pretend I understand something? It's like the goal here for white is to win, right? And he has winning threats. And if black doesn't have a defense, then what's the point of me explaining like? And then Ding will play a move that defends, and then I'll have to change all my explanations. If I have to know what I'm talking about. That's my point. So at this point, there is a thrilling moment. There is a drama going on. Okay, so here after rook a8, white is going to threaten checkmate. There's no point to explain anything besides this threat. This is a check, and then queen takes h7, checkmate.
That's true. Since we reached this point, then what about the thought that I had continuing with a point less, a pawn less, rook 8?
It's not just a pawn, it leaves the king a little bit
The king will be exposed, but it's...
well, I don't have to take on f6. That's probably your problem. Your main issue is that I don't have to take. Yet. Knight takes f6 is a huge threat. In h6 I can still sacrifice all the same.
h6 is a bad idea just as it was, I think. But,
we must find a defense, otherwise... I mean, if Ding doesn't find a defense, there's no point for us to explain anything. It's clear. There is a checkmate threat. If you can defend, then you can defend. But you have to put some pieces. Maybe bishop e4.
Takes.
Ah, it's hanging. Completely forgot. Just take it and win the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Jan Nepomniachtchi is still thinking. He didn't play knight g4. What is he thinking about? I'm sure he is aware of this exchange sacrifice. I'm sure Ding made him become a little bit frightened of exchange sacrifices in the game number, what was it, 4?
So that's what the whole thing, the whole process of thought is what will happen if he sacrifices the exchange? Like
we didn't find
in a different position.
We didn't find a move that doesn't lose besides an exchange sacrifice. And for us, it looks very, very good for white to be an exchange up. Let's think. I would love for a glass of water, by the way. So now, knight takes g4, doesn't work. And knight d5 is the only sensible move I can come up with. Queen g3. Well, maybe h5. I'll try for h5. Knight has to move somewhere. h4. Okay, this could be an idea. Have a look. h5, knight h5, h4, queen moves somewhere. But where? Jan Nepomniachtchi did not play knight g4. Come see my idea. After knight g4, the move knight d5 was forced, and now maybe h5 is very strong. Not here, of course, without after the exchange sack. So here, 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 h5. Let's suppose you move your knight somewhere. Let's say e5, I go h4. I mean, e5 you might get pinned also.
So what are you trying to do with manage somehow to throw the queen off the defense of the bishop?
Where do you put it?
First I go to d4 to provoke.
Provoke what?
f5, right?
I don't know. I don't know what's my next move.
Because otherwise everything is defensive. That's the only threat we're facing.
Okay. No, I can. My idea was different.
Okay.
The idea was not f5.
Here's your idea. Show your hand.
Okay. But now that you suggested it, I will go along with you.
Because I thought it was um,
You have to go to
bad
f3.
for black to so I call
This
for
is force.
provocation. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it.
Just suggest move for white, please.
Mhm.
We have to come up with a proper line.
With a single with the only move.
Okay. You want to move a queen here. And now, let me ask you this. What if I go knight c3? Sir?
I resign.
I have queen h5.
I have queen h5. I have queen h3. I have
Queen e3 I can.
h4.
Okay, I don't go knight c3. I go something else. I want to go g5 maybe.
Aha. Okay, this is something else.
Yeah, that's my initial intention.
Response is bishop takes to knight d7.
Oh, you have knight d7 straight away also.
I have
You have queen
knight
h5 also.
straight away. Queen h5 is
Knight f4.
dangerous.
No. Okay. You want to play bishop takes g5? I take, and then knight d7. Is this your idea?
Not very good compensation, huh?
I can put my knight somewhere.
f4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back.
Now I'm not in any fear for the knight. I just have to move the bishop. Why was I? Okay, so bishop d2 for the sake of argument. What do you have?
Knight f4 was my idea.
Of course it was. So
Queen d1.
if my name was Tal, I would take take this knight. No,
With what?
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. With,
Queen d1. And for example, knight takes g2. I don't know. This looks good for white actually. I mean, I don't have a good place for my pieces now.
Knight takes f3. Solve all the problems.
Knight takes f3.
Knight takes. Comma. f3. Okay, this is better.
I thought this was annoying, but yeah, f3. f3 allows for h3. I don't know, it's crazy, but we have to understand what happened with, like, why would knight g4 not be played? Let's use the assisted analysis option. You are not aware of it. I didn't have time to show you before the stream, but it allows you to see colors. You see, when you press a piece, and the colors go all the way from red to green. But there's some engine running in the background, but it's a weak engine. You see, knight g4. You see, I don't know which engine it is, and I'm not the programmer of this program, but it's a weak engine. It makes mistakes. You see, it keeps changing the evaluation also, which a normal engine normally doesn't. It sees in the first 10. Well, the fact that it suggested this move to be yellow, then green, then yellow, normally doesn't happen when you use a strong engine. Anyway, knight g4 is not the greenest of the moves. And now we have to check if rook d3 is the only move. You see? Seems to work. And nothing else works, as you may have guessed. So rook d3 is the only move. Now it's not so green anymore. Is there any other alternative? Like, I'm just checking for some pieces I can move. Rook e8. It's yellow. So rook d3 is the only move. C takes d3. My knight d5 is the greenest of the moves. Queen g3, and now my h5 is probably green. Knight d3. Knight d5 that we analyzed probably is not so good, not because of h4. Bishop d6 is very powerful because of the pin. That's the move I had missed. Bishop h6 doesn't work. because of bishop takes e5. Yeah, this is losing a piece for white. Bishop d6. Bishop d6 is the move I missed. So knight e3 is the move. And then h4, all the same probably. That's probably the line they both were calculating. And now you can choose whether you want to allow f5 or not. And my guess is that g5 is coming. Yes. Nice. g5. Now this is a position I like. If we had the chance to see it on the board, we would be happy, right?
Sure.
Bishop e5, f6, bishop c3 is not good.
Well,
So white loses a piece.
Still, I want to provoke G5 bishop takes G5.
When? Here? At the end of the line?
Knight, whatever.
G5 bishop takes g5, I take. You want to go
Queen G4.
f6? No. My computer wants me to play queen d8. And you don't have
Okay, that's the reason. Okay.
f4 knight e3.
F4 knight e3. So if knight takes, you take with the queen. But G4 is defended. So
Maybe I have an extra move f5. Intermediate move.
Intermezzo.
Yes, exactly.
But now how are you going to take?
With everything.
Not with the queen.
Not with the queen, but my pair of bishops will be good enough. So that's Ding's line. We missed the move h5 until late late hour, let's say. And then h4, and then the incredible g5 is coming. And if queen g4, f5 is very forcing. Queen f3. Knight d5 is the move. Wait, really?
Why not?
Fg probably, no? No? Bishop d5. The queen. This is not looking very promising for black, so maybe f5 is not the best. Maybe knight f4 is better. Maybe just this position followed by some h3, you know?
What? This is not a double game. You won't get extra knights from your partner.
Yeah, but I still like the position. Okay, let's move on with the game. This position requires further analysis. I really wanted to get this f5 going, but white has this knight takes d5 resource. I should probably take with the bishop, I don't have anything else. Queen moves back. It's really hard to suggest any move for black. h3 probably, no?
Okay, but
I don't look. There is not a single move that I press is green. Not just queen d7 is the only green move, and it's not green.
I'm not. The bishop has such a strong hold on e5.
That's why I said knight f4 is probably the move. But after this, and h3 probably.
And again, compensation for the exchange, for a whole exchange.
That's up to you to decide.
No.
Let's check.
Not.
Let's check this position. I don't know.
Not skillful enough to make such decisions.
I deleted the.
I'm just curious.
I deleted stockfish from here.
How these things go.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Oh, got a message from someone. But it's a good sign. Someone who's very high up the ranks on lichess has responded. So let's see. So now after h3, let's say it's either better for white or black has enough compensation and we have no way to guess it right now. We can try, but it will be hard. So the game didn't go knight g4. Jan Nepomniachtchi played rook a1. As you can see, the computer here prefers this knight g4 for the time being. And then Liren played g6 to defend. We didn't have time to analyze it because we were busy with the complications of the other line. And as you can see, there are no other green squares anywhere for us.
Mhm.
And I wanted to see the positioning of the game. Okay, so in the game, okay, one G6 was played. So it's funny because it doesn't show G6 as very green, but it's really hard to come up with a different move. You see, no matter which piece I press, oh, Bishop A6 is the only one that the computer likes. You see, color-wise. So anyway,
I don't think it's a very strong program.
why?
Because that's what you said.
Because no, but something about this move provoked your.
I'm starting to, but I was intrigued by a sacrifice. Bishop takes h7,
All right,
exchange for a pawn.
knight h7.
Yes, queen takes.
And
And now
probably a
probably
take.
bishop takes, yes. And now I'm wondering
Probably white loses.
if
Everything is protected, and
no, there's knight e7
okay.
and not maybe
Can be
before,
seven.
maybe after taking the
No,
bishop.
and lose the queen. Where do I put it? C6 with a checkmate threat.
Nice.
Okay, so rook a1, bishop a6 is probably the most interesting move, or the most solid response. G6 was played by Ding, and now we have a move by Nepomniachtchi, bishop g5, rook d4 by Ding Liren.
Wouldn't you provoke first? Wouldn't you play bishop h6 first and then bishop g5?
How would I know what I would do? I didn't have time to look at this position and think, but if we sit down for like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe I can try to make sense of it. I didn't even understand what was going on. Like bishop h6. I mean, these are tactical moves, right?
I think yes, in tactical terms, because
So I allow rook d4 and rook fd8.
no, h3. I think my thought was okay.
Knight f7 doesn't work.
Not right now, but maybe after bishop g5.
You just can't. Yeah.
Because so my thought is to in
Yeah.
one or other move order to
You want to sacrifice here sooner or later.
take this, and after queen takes h7, there is no defense of g6. White wins the g6 pawn as well.
Yeah. That's very interesting to see. I don't see a move for black at this point.
And I'm not sure who's better, but I'm just.
Knight h5 is the only move that I can see. But this is all, what if? The game Jan has calculated. We took a long time looking at this knight g4 resource, and we didn't manage to calculate it properly. And then by the time we finished, they already made a few moves. So it doesn't make sense to stay 3 moves behind the game. We can go back here later.
That's
Bishop g5. What do you mean, to stay behind?
yeah.
So rook a1. And now queen h3. And now black to move. Queen c7 makes sense. But black is definitely under pressure. That's one thing we can mention. After the move rook d4, black is under pressure. No matter what they do, white is having some potential for attack on the dark squares, and black has to be precise. As you can see, most moves are not. Most pieces cannot move to squares very easily that will be justified. So black is the in what we can refer to as the one mistake zone. You see,
Mhm.
uh, or what? No, is one mistake from losing, and sometimes he has only moves. So for example, here rook d4, he found it very quickly, but queen c7 is not the most obvious move.
It's the weird difference between computer analysis and human analysis. So for me, if I had to find a single line of 12 moves in order to reach a draw, reach a certain draw, then 12 of these 12 only moves would seem to me impossible to find. Even if I found them by some chance, it would make me consider the position lost.
Yes.
And the computer would confidently put zero valuation, which is equal, and play those 12 moves as if nothing else matters. And even if I managed by some miracle to play these correct 12 moves, I would consider myself having escaped from a lost position. In the computer perspective, of course, is completely different.
Uh, let's see. I'll try to fix the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I know what's my problem. Maybe I'm not connected with this browser to my own YouTube channel because I exited from the Google account. That's probably it.
The
That's
browser has to have a tab on the channel in order for leeches to.
I don't know.
How would leeches know about this?
I don't know.
The sites are not supposed to look through your browsers where else you are.
Let's try to see. So now I'm connected. This is me live streamed. I think now it will work. That's my guess. I don't know. I have a feeling it will work. So let's see if I have this on. So you see now it shows leeches online chess here. Probably. Okay, we'll see. Can bring this back on. Yeah, yeah. The fact that I have this other site open, this is a different page than the one I had before. You see, the fact that this is on, yeah, it feels different now. Let's hope in 30 uh, seconds something may change. Oh, it's the wrong view. Okay, either way, So this is correct. It's, let me see, I put it on gaming, right? And it's gaming. Hmm. I think it's too late to change it anyway. So, yeah. We have a move. Queen c7 was found by Liren. And now, white is thinking. They have a time difference going on.
Yes, but that was
Now
the.
1 minute versus 25 minutes.
So why is Queen C7 so important? The defense of E7.
Well, it puts pressure on e5 and defends the e7 bishop. Yeah, that's probably the two factors that matter the most. And well, it's not so easy to understand what's going on. This is a very direct position. If white's attack fails, it will probably be very close to equality because black is more active in the center.
Yeah, but white won't get worse in anything foreseeable, right?
Um,
You're not going to like very much my next idea. But oh, Queen C7 has some other hidden advantage that maybe C4 can be considered. Mm.
so here, it's very hard to focus and concentrate on such a position for a long time, like we talked earlier. But we can make efforts. So here,
Yes, I think C4 is quite disturbing, and
White?
C3, no, black.
Come
Okay, that's
are you trying
that was
to
the next thing that I was going to say.
are you
C4.
trying to explain that black's threat is c4
I'm trying to say, explain that I want to play C3 before C4 comes.
with white
Mhm.
because c4 will drive this bishop.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay.
But after
So you want
that,
to suggest c3? Let's say move the rook. As you may see, the colors are not very friendly with the rook.
yeah,
Rook d5 is the main move.
yeah,
f4 can be expected.
exactly. But F4 was my plan anyway. When I started with C3, I'm thinking of F5. Yeah, I mean, if the knight was defended, then I would.
c4 is the best move probably. For forcing, like, you can take with the bishop probably. If you take with the knight, I'm thinking maybe I have something, some tricks,
Why not with the bishop, by the way?
because I can, no, I can just go rook d2, check on b6, queen h1, rook d2. Yeah, I didn't see any of it in advance, but black gets counterplay.
Black gets a little counterplay.
And
But,
knight takes, I was probably, I don't know where to put my pieces. I can't find a single move that makes sense. h6 is the computer suggestion here.
So,
Hardly a human move.
in other words,
Because the queen has to
the black
defend.
is lost.
Because the queen has to defend the bishop. What do you mean? Why would you say that black is lost?
I thought that was the reason why
No,
such a strange
h6.
move.
H6 is a computerish move.
Yes, I'm figuring it out as we go along. I just saw this rook h5 when I spoke.
So c4 followed by h6 is very inhuman, to say the least. Very hard to find. And if the bishop moves backwards, then the rook d2 can become, or queen b6 check can be very active for black.
Queen b6 is now.
No, c4 is an amazing move, but it's really hard to find after c3 and f4. And any other ideas for white? Besides, we can just hunt for ideas like this. You see? No other moves. Just your c3, that's the only. No, but my okay, so if I they have limited time. So in this particular position, if I use my thoughts, I would probably be fixed on c3, right? So I don't want to use this feature for all the moves, but my idea was to search for what do you call it, alternate options that I wouldn't see anyway, just so we can be aware of them and not be surprised by Jan's next move. So I just wanted to see if there are any alternatives before we proceed forward with the c3.
What about queen e3?
I'm surprised that this is the only good move for white also. Queen e3, as you can see here, is very red. Why? I do not know. Let's check.
Okay.
Maybe knight g4?
Knight g4?
No, knight d5.
e4. I was starting to think of knight e4.
Takes probably, takes. Knight somewhere. Or f6.
Oh, f6, fearlessly play f6.
Yeah. Okay, back to the game. Let's see. In the game we have the position of the queen c7. You anticipated c3. Jan will probably play c3. And the computer approves it. Rook d5 seems like the only logical move. Rook d6 is not very human, it's very passive. And rook a4 is also weird because the rook can be cut off from the game later on and will not participate in the defense. And you can play 3 all the same. So rook d5 is by far the most human move, and it's forcing f4. And now the point was to play the c4, which we probably wouldn't even have tried. Okay? And as the computer shows, is here we try to press all the pieces, and we didn't see a single green move. You see? And oh, this is another move that we probably neglected to check. Very natural one.
Just started to consider it.
Yeah. Knight goes back to e5.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't see any point to this move that makes sense. Right, knight h5 now. Well, that's also very computerish, with the idea of knight takes f4 later on.
But how can that be a great idea? Doesn't that lose?
What do you do?
You lose all the sets.
Well, black is active. He's the only pawn down.
I don't know what king h1 even. What? Oh, bishop takes g5. Wait a minute. Bishop takes g5.
I should probably take. I take. You move somewhere.
No. Why move it? But I'm.
What do you want to do? Suggest the move and then.
But why do you want to move?
Just suggest the move. It's hard to answer questions that start with why. So I might as well just you play. You try to represent white because knight h5 obviously doesn't look very good for black. So.
Okay, so you think the I want to move the bishop, and you think the black rook will be very active on the rank 2. So what about rook f2?
Then c5. Well, black is a pawn down, but the older pieces are active. That's the point. Let's get back. Rook d8 is one option, and then there is this crazy computer move h6 that we saw. And now I thought bishop h4. And it's not even clear what black achieved by this h6. Maybe king g7, I don't know.
Really? But
g5, really? I don't believe that. g5 can't possibly be a good move. That's beyond my scope of understanding.
bishop g3, what about queen g3?
Queen g4, that's the point.
I wanted, so okay.
Queen h7 check. Because rook h5 is coming, you see, later. Queen c5 and rook h5. No, this is incredible.
Yeah,
I can't look at it. It's getting too crazy for me. And it's not very practical. So rook d5, f4, rook d8 is what we can anticipate.
Okay.
Sorry, c4 followed by rook d8, because here bishop takes g6 somehow works. Yeah, you have to take with the pawn. Knight f7 or bishop
Knight first, I think. Otherwise, taking
knight takes g6, for example. And then if you take queen e6. So bishop g6 is very strong. So you have to harass the bishop first. And with the rook on f8, this doesn't work. Because we simply have rook f7 probably. So interesting. c4 first, followed by rook d8 after knight takes. Lovely. I really like this style of play, knight h5. This is a very Kasparov solution. Kasparovian solution to the problem. Like c4 is a weak pawn. I get rid of my weakness. I get your pieces out of the attack for one tempo. I open up my bishop, and then suddenly, before you know it, all my pieces. Before you know it, all my pieces are active, and now it's black who fights for the initiative.
Before you know it, or C4 you know it?
Before. Nice. You know it. So let's try after c3. Yeah, I don't think Ding is calculating even any other move, because rook d5 attacks the knight, and you can't do anything besides, like, you see, you don't have any square. You can defend it with any piece, you can move any piece, you have to go f4. And forcing lines are attractive when you are a little bit more active, but you will lose if you don't find anything immediate. So now c4 is the most logical move in the position when you think about white's potential attack. So, and if he goes back, then you get this rook d2 resource. So he has to take, but here we concluded that queen b6 was good, followed by rook d2, even though I didn't check for any other squares, yeah? And knight c4, rook d8 is what my favorite line. I really wish this will actually take place. If this position will be in the game, I'll feel very good about what's going on, because here, this is a game for 3 results, you know? But I think the least likely result here is for white to win in this position.
That's the least likely.
Yes. Because of black's activity.
I'm still
Struggling?
trying to make anything out of this. No, not struggling at all. Confident with white. F5.
Yeah, but I mean, do you understand that black's rooks and bishop are better than these pieces at this point?
So I have a friend who says,
this queen
says to me in these cases, let's play moves. What about F5?
Okay, queen c5 check.
You're already giving me some problems. Lost the knight. Let's Check costs me the nod. So just king h1, various threats.
King h1 here. This move.
See the
Yellow.
computer reaction, yes, and your disbelief.
Well, I don't see the move for black, as you may guess.
I don't know why
I don't see any piece that can move. Just
Why
queen
is
c7.
queen c5 bad now?
Queen c7 is better. Queen c5 probably allows some sacrifices, so bishop e4. Queen c7 probably doesn't make bishop e4 that useful. Because my bishop on b7 is protected. I can take here. Let's have a look at what was played in the game. I have a feeling it was c3. See? No, b3. He was afraid of c4 in the lines that we mentioned. But b3, we checked earlier and it wasn't that green. We don't know why. And maybe now, for this time being, we can turn off the assisted analysis. And because this is a very tactical position, I don't like using this assisted analysis thing. I like it much more when the position is strategical and you use it to generate candidate moves. So you can compare them. But in a tactical position, it will just reveal the solution and it's not going to be fun for anyone. So b3 obviously is a good move against c4. Just like Kavner mentioned, the same purpose of c3 was to address this c4 threat. But we found a lot of resources after this that prove that black idea of c4 is not prevented, just weakened, you know. So instead of being an advantage for black, if he had played c4 here, it just became double-edged. So b3 was played. Ding responded very quickly. What did he play? Let's see.
Rook f8.
No, that is fine. Quite rapidly. And yeah, we don't know what's the right move, so we have to just observe this position with awe. Knight h5 here makes a lot of sense. It's a very typical move. And the idea is to have the f4 square. And to limit white's ideas of sacrifices. And well, now white has to decide between bishop h6 and bishop takes e7. If bishop h6, probably knight f4 can be played. Yeah. But if bishop takes e7, queen e7, knight f4 is a very strong threat. And g3 is the way to prevent it, but it leaves this diagonal very weak, very exposed. So it's not so easy to play with white. And as Diane is thinking, I suggest that we take a short break. We've already been here for the game started almost 3 hours ago. And I have a feeling that in half an hour they will still be playing and we'll have a lot of updates to cover.
What is the time situation?
45 minutes for Jan and 23 minutes for Ding. We'll be back. And I have a feeling they will not blunder in the next 3-4 moves yet. Maybe later. So,
Okay.
yes. So without further ado, let's take our short break. In the meantime, you guys can solve this position with white to play and win. And yes,
precision is so important to us. I wanted to give the credentials of a fake, uh, and so
Maybe
four times
when we come back,
when we come back.
I mean,
Okay.
while they are thinking, because if we talk now and then we until we come back, the game is finished. Yeah, then it won't be easy.
And
But
we'll
we'll
be
talk about
very
Yohanan
specific
Afek when we are
credentials of
back.
a fake. Okay.
But Yohanan Afek deserves a lot of credentials, that's for sure. Okay, see you soon. Hello everyone, we are back and we have an updated position of the game. Let's have a look what we have. So in the game after knight h5, how about I turn on this thing just to show the moves. f4 was played, unlike what we anticipated. We talked about bishop takes e7 and bishop h6. f4 was played. Bishop d6 by black, as you can see it's probably not the most accurate. c3 by white. Knight takes f4 by black. And another exchange sacrifice. Rook takes f4, rook takes f4, bishop takes e5, rook h4 was played. And now black played rook d8. Interesting. Bishop takes e3 is the recommendation here. Anyway, rook d8, bishop e4, takes, rook e5, rook d5 was played, rook c4, no, not rook c4, rook h4 back, queen d6, queen e3. All of this was done in time pressure, I should probably mention. Relative time pressure. Queen d3, queen e3, h5, g3, bishop f6, rook c4 by white, h4 by black, and g takes h4. And, well, it's pretty safe to say that white is the one playing for the win with the rook versus the bishop. A lot has happened since we have gone. And it's really hard to see what went wrong for black and when, but it's probably the nature of the position. If I had to guess, probably this position after knight h5 is a very risky position for black. Like the king is exposed and so on. And after the move f4, black is under heavy pressure and it's not so easy to find defense. And in the one mistake zone, it's very hard to stay precise for many moves in a row. So
Right here, what we didn't we look at f4 at all? We looked at f4 in different positions.
yes,
f4, f6 is not a good move.
queen e6 check. Let's check. Queen e6, queen e6. Where do you put your king? I'm sure they considered it, both of them. My guess is that now white would attack somehow.
No.
The bishop is hanging, yeah.
Bishop h4. Probably good.
Or knight g4 with the double threat.
Knight g4 is also an attack on bishop. That's right.
Yeah, so f6 doesn't work. Bishop takes g5 is one option. That's fearless, but it feels like it's almost made it, you know?
All these weaknesses.
The computer wants to play this line, but I don't see any follow-up. What's the point? Like, there is no piece that can move. There's a knight to f4, queen h6. Doesn't even want to take on d3. So, what are you going to do against this?
You can scream, knight!
Yeah, that's always a plan. c4 is the only move in this position. Knight takes c4 doesn't work, bishop c4 doesn't work, bc4 doesn't. And nothing is green, just knight g4. And I don't see a move. How can I prevent checkmate? f5 only move. Knight f6. Rook takes f6. G takes f6. C takes d3. Rook takes f4. Rook f4 only move. Probably f7. This looks like a nice line, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Takes F1.
It takes c2. And probably black is not lost. That's my guess. d5. g8 and a draw. That would be my guess for the computer recommendation. So this is a forcing line that is very hard to find. Starting with bishop takes g5. Yeah, very computerish. f7, wow, it's nice. Okay, what else? Instead of c4. Okay, not bishop g5. Do we have any other options? I don't see any other pieces that can move. So, yeah, Dink's solution of playing bishop d6 is like a compromise. Probably tried to make bishop g5 work and couldn't make sense of all of the complications. I'm sure after queen h6 he was very much afraid. Like c4, and now there are a lot of lines to calculate. Like b takes c4, I'm sure there is a point. Queen c5, and maybe black is in time somehow. It's really hard to bishop g2. Rook d8 is also an option. It's extremely complicated, and looks like black is about to be mated. And to make sense of every single position here, every single move, is not an easy task.
Getting out of this with
Knight takes g2.
exchange down with Indian chances of drawing seems like an achievement already.
Well, let's see. So in the game, c3 was played, which makes sense. So now knight f4 is the only move, most likely. And then this thing that we saw. And Jan, according to the engine here, rook f2 was the best move. Rook h4 was played. Bishop c3 was probably correct. But rook d8 was played. Now bishop e4. Bishop takes. Rook takes. Rook d5. Rook h4 back. Very interesting choices by each player. Now rook d2 was played by black, threatening checkmate. Queen 2. White has several ways to defend. He chose rook e2, and Ding is playing with his last minute, and he played rook d3. He has 7 more moves to make. Wow. Not including this, rook d3 has 7 more moves before he gets an extra hour. And Nepomniachtchi has 10 minutes on the clock. I'm assuming queen takes c5 will be played, and Ding is already very close to lost.
With
This is probably what. I mean, it's not losing yet because they still have these 2 pawns, right?
he drops to c3 and yes, and I think there's
Still hope.
I wouldn't feel like confident enough to win against him in this position.
Actually, it's very hard also to attack any of black's pawns.
Yeah,
Sorry, king d2.
White's plan
h5 is another move. It can make sense.
h5 makes sense, and rook ec2 makes sense, and doing something in the way of advancing.
I don't know, king. No, but black has to be precise. Bishop d4, rook c8 or rook c7. Very hard to find a move. Bishop d6. I wonder if Ding can survive it. Not an easy task, to say the least. I would argue that the king should be unhappy with the result of the opening.
Does he have what to fear? Does he have anything? The capture on c5 seems the most logical thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Queen has to go somewhere. Why not go to where a black pawn is?
Queen c5 was played, and black did not take. Black played rook d1, king g2, queen d3. So black indirectly admits that queen takes c5 is most likely losing, and that he is intending to continue the game with the queens on the board. But now we just lost a pawn. He's not only an exchange down, he's also a pawn down.
Well, okay, if you count h2 and h4 as
I do.
two pawns, so
It's really hard to make precise moves, but rook f2 was played. I mean, if Ding doesn't find a specific way to generate counterplay, it will be equivalent to resignation.
yeah, c4, huh?
Yes.
Lots of problems. Yes.
Mm-hmm. King g7 was played.
It's still a useful move because the defending the bishop
That's
is
probably what's
impossible.
going to happen now. And now white is getting a much better version of this endgame, right?
Absolutely.
So what else? K4 is on the board. Ding has 15 seconds on the clock, or 30 for that matter. It doesn't have any move besides queen c3, which is equivalent to resignation.
Oh, zero side. You know what? Queen takes c3. Oh, no.
Yeah, but in that case, why not take on c3? You know, instead of taking on c3 here, he chose to take on c3 here.
He doesn't have
A
lots
time
of
machine?
time and the pressure. No,
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of time to make
Yeah,
all these
he
things
resigned
happen.
before White even responded.
Well,
Well, it
congratulations.
says that rook d3 is a blunder on Lich's side. Let's see. After rook e2.
What's the evaluation before
Well,
that?
according to the engine on Lichess, after rook e2, this is an equal position, and rook d3 was a losing move.
Well,
Had he played rook d5, everything would be under control.
no.
Probably because of time pressure. The computer really liked black's position with the exchange down.
Well,
He thought black was even better at some point. So this position with 4h4, after king g7, the computer prefers black with the pawn up. So Ding just self-destructed with the time pressure. I guess he was desperate because he didn't have time to evaluate the position, so he must have thought he was worse. I have a feeling that when he played rook d3, he completely missed queen takes c5.
no.
I mean, misevaluated it, to say the least.
He's
Maybe he thought he has some tactic with bishop d4.
bishop d4 is such a powerful idea to
Queen e4. Maybe he wanted to go here.
Okay, and still, this is such a dangerous situation. Queen e5.
d1.
Yes, I think I have
What?
not much.
With what?
G2.
King? Queen? Here?
Mhm.
I think the main problem was rook c1.
Okay, now queen e5.
Took g2. He must have missed something. I mean, maybe he was counting on this bishop d4 move. Maybe he was counting on this position. That's the only explanation I can find for what he did. Because you see, rook c1 is the only move here, according to the engine. And then, like, well, if all the moves are green, then it means that all the moves are equally lost, right? Queen g4, and only move here is rook g2. And maybe he thought that this was a perpetual or something, I don't know. There's only one way to escape, through f4. So this is like, king g4 is also winning. So maybe he saw something from afar, and in this position he thought it was fine and didn't realize he's out of checks. Queen d1. I don't know. But had he gone back to d5, it would have been equal. And after rook d3, just gave the game away.
Well, it wasn't completely only after rook d5. It was under a lot of pressure.
What do you mean?
Early
Here it's
stages.
equal.
Here it's equal.
Here
but
it's
it wasn't
not.
like it wasn't a whole equal game. It was probably
Equal.
big advantage for white.
I call it equal if black finds all the moves. So this is what I referred to earlier as the zone of one mistake. You make one mistake and you lose. He was there for a while, yes. And now after rook e2, rook d5, I mean, he would have had some chances. Maybe theoretically black could even have winning chances. Who knows? Later on, if white tries too hard.
Sure.
But I like it without the h4, without the h4 push. Anyway, yeah, that's very saddening to see. And now white won. Sad for Ding, happy for the fans, because now that Jan is leading, we are expected to see a lot more action in the match. And I think it's the first World Championship match I've ever heard of when a player is taking the lead 3 times in 7 rounds.
How many matches back do we have to go to get so many long games with decision?
Long games with what?
With a non-draw.
I don't know.
I
don't know if we like. I don't.
Last 2 matches, I think, to the decisions.
Decisive results.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And the match before that. No. Okay. The previous 2 matches. The match with Nepo, I think, had 3 wins of Carlsen, right?
Yes, but it was
So
one-sided. And the first win was on round 6. Here we have a fifth win on round 7. And it was like everyone wins with white also. Except Jan Nepomniachtchi on round 2, which won with black. So that's very interesting. I wonder if now Jan will suddenly take on a stronger lead in the match if Ding tries too hard. Because Ding is starting to run out of ideas, you know? He can't just repeat the same openings that he played already.
um, that can be a surprise in itself. If you say something like this, it's an indication that doing so would be a surprise.
No, like the reason that he can't do it is because Jan can just repeat his files and find the best way to equalize easily with the right plan. So Jan must have had an improvement on the previous games that he lost. So it will be hard to reuse the same opening. So Ding will have to come up with something new. You see, it won't be easy. So Jan is on the lead, Jan Nepomniachtchi from Russia, and we are expected to see a lot of attempts by Ding in the next coming rounds. And this has been the bloodiest World Championship match I've ever seen or even heard of. So we have a lot to look forward to, and maybe it's a good time to take a chance and say thank you to Avner for coming and joining for this stream. There is a chance that you'll be invited again, or that I will have another slot for you later on. And yeah, hopefully we will have more fun with the richest thing. Hopefully has been fixed by then. And yeah, thank you to all the 5 viewers who almost stayed with us for the entire stream. And I will see you in the next rounds.